Apple wants you to spend over $1,600 on an iPad Pro and Magic Keyboard that still cannot run real desktop software. Look, I'll be straight with you. I've spent years rolling my eyes at Windows tablets because they've always felt heavy, loud, or just clunky in ways that made you regret trying to be different. But Microsoft just quietly dropped an ARM-based tablet that runs completely silent, stays ice cold, and actually lets you do real work. Today on Tech Sleuth, I am reviewing the Surface Pro 12, the $1,100 tablet that just murdered the iPad Pro. What surprised me first about the Surface Pro 12 was the size, hitting the absolute perfect sweet spot at 12 inches. It is big enough to do actual work with documents, spreadsheets, and multitasking, but light enough to carry without thinking about it at just 1.5 pounds. Microsoft finally stopped obsessing over being the thinnest device in the room and gave it rounded corners and chamfered edges, making it incredibly comfortable to hold without feeling like it's going to slip out of your hands. And the built-in kickstand is a massive selling point here, because unlike Apple, you don't have to buy a separate $300 case just to prop up your device. You just set it down, pull out the kickstand, and instantly get the perfect viewing angle on an airplane tray, your desk, or the kitchen counter. Let's talk about the display and media experience. You are getting a 2880 by 1920 IPS panel that delivers 600 nits of brightness indoors. It also supports a buttery smooth 90 Hz refresh rate, though you will have to dig into the Windows settings to enable that manually. It is crisp, sharp, and comfortable to look at for long work sessions. When it is time to relax, the quad speakers get surprisingly loud, keeping dialogue clear, while Dolby Atmos gives your movies a bit more presence. But here is where this tablet actually destroys the competition. The Snapdragon X Plus processor inside keeps everything running without sounding like a drone taking off. You can open 37 Chrome tabs, run Adobe Lightroom, or hop on video calls, and this fanless design stays completely silent and cool to the touch. For the first time on a Windows ARM tablet, app compatibility is actually good enough that most people won't even notice they are using an ARM chip. It gives you the power of a desktop right in your hands. And if you take notes or sketch, the Slim Pen 2 snaps onto the tablet magnetically like it means it, offering low latency and subtle haptic feedback that makes writing feel more natural than any previous Surface Pen. Plus, the 53 watt-hour battery gives you around 10 to 12 hours of real-world use, and the 65-watt fast charging is an absolute lifesaver that gets you back to 50% in about half an hour. But let's be real, the elephant in the room for any Windows ARM machine has always been application compatibility. It's the reason why the Surface RT and every subsequent attempt failed to capture my attention. Microsoft's previous ARM efforts felt like a half measure, forcing you into a walled garden of their own apps while leaving crucial productivity software behind. But this time is profoundly different. The Snapdragon X Plus is rocking a new translation layer that, for all intents and purposes, makes 99% of your x64 and x86 apps just work. I'm not talking about basic word processors, I'm talking about the heavy hitters. Full-blown Photoshop CC, not the watered-down mobile version Apple tries to pass off. I ran Premiere Pro for basic video editing, and while it won't be setting speed records against a full desktop CPU, it was absolutely functional for quick edits and cuts. The translation is so efficient now that you honestly forget you're running on an ARM chip until you check the task manager. This is the inflection point we've been waiting for. This isn't just a tablet that can run desktop apps. It's a tablet where the desktop apps feel native. The days of hunting for an ARM native version of a niche utility are pretty much over. The only time I hit a snag was with some ancient proprietary security software from a corporate network. And even then, I found a workaround within minutes. This shift in compatibility is not an upgrade. It is a revolution, finally delivering on the promise of a Windows tablet that can truly replace your laptop. Now, a true pro device isn't complete without a best-in-class input experience, and the Surface Pro 12 delivers with the redesigned signature keyboard. Look, I've typed millions of words on every keyboard Microsoft and Apple have ever made, and this one is pure excellence. The keys have a deep, satisfying travel and are spaced perfectly, feeling far more like a dedicated high-end laptop keyboard than a slim folio case. It's sturdy, doesn't bounce, and the Alcantara finish is easy on the wrist for those 10-hour writing sprints. sprints. The precision trackpad is massive, noticeably larger than previous generations, and it's glass, meaning every multi-finger gesture registers with perfect accuracy. It takes everything good about a MacBook trackpad and brings it to Windows, finally. This is essential because if you're serious about desktop multitasking, you need that precise cursor control. The magnetic connection is instant and rock solid, and the way it slightly angles up when attached, that small ergonomic detail is the kind of thoughtfulness I wish Apple would pay attention to instead of just focusing on aesthetics. And speaking of connectivity, Microsoft learned a painful lesson from the past and equipped the Surface Pro 12 to handle any modern workflow. You're getting two USB-C ports, both supporting the latest USB 4 standard. That means blazing fast data transfer and the ability to run dual external 4K displays if you want to turn this tablet into a full-fledged workstation at your desk. Now let's talk about the value, because a Surface Pro 12 configuration with the Snapdragon X Plus, 16GB of RAM, 512GB of storage, and the keyboard lands right around $1,100. An iPad Pro with similar storage will run you about $1,600 once you add the Magic Keyboard and Apple Pencil, and it still cannot run desktop software. The difference isn't just $500, it's the difference between a fully operational computer and an incredibly expensive, highly optimized consumption device. That $500 delta can buy you a high-end external monitor, a stack of accessories, or just be kept in your pocket and you still get a superior productivity machine. But you know, it is time for the trust-building reality check. Because this is an ARM chip, some older legacy Windows apps still don't play perfectly, and some niche installers might throw errors. Microsoft also chose to use UFS storage instead of a real SSD, which means you are getting slower read and write speeds than you would on most premium devices. The IPS display reflections are noticeable in direct sunlight, the Windows touch gestures still aren't as perfectly smooth as iPadOS, and Microsoft doesn't even include a charger in the box. Because of the fanless design, sustained load gaming is also pretty mediocre, so don't buy this expecting a hardcore gaming rig. Another minor quirk I noticed, the haptic feedback on the Slim Pen 2, while better than previous pens, still isn't quite as nuanced as the Apple Pencil's tap and double tap functionality for tool switching. And yes, while the design is comfortable, the bezels are still marginally thicker than I'd like on a modern flagship device, a slight sacrifice for the excellent thermal management. This whole conversation is really about the future of computing, and for the first time in a decade, I think Microsoft has a clear, compelling answer. The iPad Pro is fantastic if your entire life is confined to the Apple ecosystem, if you live and breathe iOS, if all your file sharing is via AirDrop, and if your idea of work is mostly consuming content and using polished but fundamentally limited tablet apps. The Surface Pro 12, on the other hand, is for the person who needs flexibility. It's for the developer who needs to run a local server and test code. It's for the accountant who needs the full version of Excel with proper VBA support, not the stripped-down mobile client. It's for the IT professional who needs to remote into a machine using a fully functional remote desktop client. This tablet doesn't ask you to change your workflow, it adapts to it. The biggest hidden advantage of the Surface Pro 12 is its integration with the broader Windows world. While Apple struggles to bridge the gap between iPadOS and macOS, the Surface Pro 12 is Windows. You get the same familiar interface, the same robust file management, and the same ability to customize and troubleshoot that you'd find on your desktop tower. This eliminates the learning curve and the constant friction of switching mental gears between a tablet operating system and a desktop operating system. If you already use a Windows PC, this device slots into your life seamlessly. It's not just a device for the future, it's a device that respects your past investment in Windows-based tools. It's the ultimate road warrior setup, powerful enough to handle a full day of meetings, presentations, and content creation, yet slim enough to disappear into a small messenger bag. This is the true definition of pro portable computing, uncompromising power in a perfectly mobile package. Even with those quirks, the Surface Pro 12 is a mature, capable machine that feels like a tool built for actual adults doing actual work. Would you ditch the iPad to get real desktop software on the Surface Pro 12? Drop a comment below, I'm reading every single one.